Everyone knows Reba McEntire as the flawless queen of country music, the woman in dazzling red gowns whose voice seems effortless every time she steps beneath the spotlight. But the image the world applauds hides a lifetime carved by relentless work, painful sacrifices, and heartbreak that never truly disappeared. Long before the sold-out concerts and standing ovations, she belonged to a family where bruises were expected, every dollar had to be earned, and tomorrow was never guaranteed. Her childhood unfolded between dusty highways, crowded rodeo arenas, and quiet moments where she sang only when there was time. Each performance came after watching her father gamble his body against powerful animals just to provide for the family. Success never arrived as a miracle. It came after years of closed doors, overlooked opportunities, and people determined to reshape a young woman they failed to understand. Even after reaching the top, peace remained painfully out of reach. Fame rewarded her with applause while quietly collecting its own price through endless exhaustion, lonely separations, and devastating losses that no amount of success could erase. How do you spend a lifetime building everything you dreamed of, only to realize it can begin falling apart with a single unexpected phone call? What memories echo inside a voice that continues singing long after the people who inspired it are gone? Before we uncover the journey behind the legend, take a moment to leave a like. Not for the awards or the spotlight, but for the extraordinary strength it took to survive everything hidden behind them. Reba McEntire entered the world in 1955 in McAlester, Oklahoma, yet the place that truly shaped her stood near the small community of Chockey. It was a landscape that offered opportunity only to those willing to fight for it. The earth was rough, unforgiving, and built for hard work rather than comfort. Her father, Clark McEntire, earned respect as a champion steer roper whose weathered hands reflected years spent chasing victory across rodeo circuits. His life revolved around discipline, competition, and expectations that rarely allowed excuses. Her mother, Jacqueline, once dreamed of becoming a professional singer herself, but those ambitions were left behind. Instead, she poured every ounce of that dream into her children, teaching them harmonies inside a modest home where practicality mattered far more than luxury and every spare minute carried purpose. The rhythm of Reba's childhood was never gentle. Sunrise meant responsibilities, long road trips, livestock to care for, and another demanding day waiting ahead. Music was always present, but it was never treated as entertainment. It existed only after the work was finished. During those early years, she learned something more valuable than talent. She mastered discipline. Every note required precision, every breath demanded control, and every performance expected confidence regardless of how she felt inside. Emotions stayed hidden because weakness was never encouraged. If she stumbled, she learned to recover immediately instead of searching for sympathy. Life for families rooted in rodeo culture and agriculture during that era rarely offered stability. Income changed with every season, injuries happened without warning, and dependable insurance was often impossible to find. Children learned responsibility at an age when most were still discovering childhood itself. Survival always came before personal dreams. Inside that world, ambition was not something to chase freely. It had to coexist with responsibility. For Reba, music never became an escape from reality. It simply became another duty added to an already demanding life. She attended Kiowa High School, where the classrooms were small and few people imagined that one of their own would someday become an international star. She performed at school functions alongside her siblings as the singing McEntires and entertained crowds at local rodeos. Those early stages were nothing glamorous. Temporary platforms surrounded by metal bleachers, dusty arenas, and audiences whose attention often drifted toward the next rider instead of the songs filling the air. Yet every performance quietly prepared her for a future that none of them could have imagined. Her voice had undeniable power, but in the beginning it didn't match what Nashville believed could sell. During the 1970s, the industry favored polished, predictable performers, and Reba's sound refused to fit inside that mold. When she enrolled at Southeastern Oklahoma State University, she chose to study education because it offered something music never could: security. Becoming a teacher seemed like the sensible future, while singing remained a passion carefully placed behind practical responsibilities. Everything appeared ordinary until 1974, when she performed the national anthem at the National Finals Rodeo. Country artist Red Steagall happened to hear her and encouraged a trip to Nashville. Many people describe that performance as the moment everything changed, but the truth was far less glamorous. Instead of instant success, she stepped into years of disappointment that tested her patience more than her talent. Her first recordings barely attracted attention. Producers repeatedly pushed her toward musical trends that were already losing popularity, hoping to shape her into someone she was never meant to become. Nashville already had a clear picture of the female artist it wanted, and Reba fit neither category. She wasn't traditional enough for one audience, nor modern enough for the other. Caught between two worlds, she became an uncertainty that record executives struggled to understand. In Nashville, rejection isn't just emotional, it becomes something you physically carry every day. It lives inside endless hours waiting outside offices, meetings that end almost as soon as they begin, and polite smiles that quietly mean no. It appears in recording sessions where the finished songs sound nothing like the artist imagined. It hides inside contracts that leave little room for personal expression. Reba experienced every version of that struggle. Throughout the late 1970s, her albums failed to make a meaningful impact. Radio stations played her music inconsistently, chart positions remained disappointing, and financial pressure never truly disappeared. Unlike artists who enter the business with influential connections or major financial backing, she earned every opportunity through relentless work. She traveled constantly, performed in smaller venues, watched every expense, and accepted a routine that demanded far more than it rewarded. Endless highways, sleepless nights, rushed meals, and constant strain on her voice became part of daily life. There was nothing glamorous about those years. They were built on repetition, discipline, and determination. In 1976, she married Charlie Battles, a respected steer wrestling champion who was considerably older than she was. Their relationship reflected the world she had grown up in, traditional, structured, and strongly influenced by established roles. Battles also became involved in managing parts of her career, giving him influence over professional decisions at a time when Reba was still searching for her own artistic identity. As the music industry continued resisting her vision, that lack of independence became increasingly difficult to ignore. By the early 1980s, years of frustration had reached a breaking point. She no longer recognized the music being released under her own name. It's a situation many artists eventually face. Industry statistics show that countless performers lose label support within their first few years because their creative direction clashes with executive expectations. Reba refused to accept that outcome. She challenged the system and insisted on recording the kind of traditional country music that reflected the life she actually knew instead of chasing temporary trends. That decision changed everything, but it came with enormous risk. Challenging a record label often means risking your contract, your reputation, and even your career. Rather than creating overnight success, her choice slowly redirected the course of her future. Albums like My Kind of Country finally allowed the public to hear the authentic artist hidden beneath years of compromise. Yet those difficult years never disappeared. They remained part of the foundation that shaped her discipline, emotional restraint, and understanding that success could vanish as quickly as it appeared. Her childhood had never prepared her for comfort. It had prepared her to survive. As the mid-1980s arrived, Reba McEntire finally began steering her career toward the future she had always imagined. But the transformation demanded sacrifices that audiences could never see by looking at an album cover. Taking control of her music required speaking confidently in rooms where she had once stayed silent. People no longer viewed her as only a gifted vocalist. She was becoming a determined businesswoman willing to protect her own career, even when it meant challenging powerful people. That growing independence also placed increasing pressure on her personal life. Her marriage to Charlie Battles weakened as her career demanded greater freedom. The balance they once maintained slowly disappeared. Reba spent more time touring, making important decisions, and building a future that required constant movement, while Battles remained rooted in a lifestyle built around different expectations and a different idea of control. By 1987, the marriage came to an end. Divorce is often described as a legal process, but the reality reaches much deeper. It means rebuilding daily routines, separating finances, changing homes, and adjusting to the silence left behind by someone who had been part of everyday life for years. While her personal world shifted dramatically, her professional career finally gained unstoppable momentum. Her albums climbed higher on the charts, radio stations embraced her unmistakable style, and concert venues grew larger with every tour. Success, however, demanded an even greater physical commitment. Touring schedules became tighter, days off became fewer, and protecting her voice turned into a full-time responsibility. Country music tours during that period were brutally demanding, filled with exhausting bus rides, minimal recovery time, and performance after performance without the modern support systems artists now depend on. Every achievement came attached to another sacrifice. In 1989, Reba married her manager, Narvel Blackstock, creating a partnership that blended marriage with business. From the outside, it appeared to offer the perfect foundation for lasting stability. Behind the scenes, however, personal life and professional life became impossible to separate. Business meetings followed them home, Career decisions entered family conversations, and the pressure of success no longer ended when the stage lights went dark. The line between work and private life gradually disappeared, setting the stage for challenges that neither of them could yet imagine. Combining marriage with business may have strengthened efficiency, but it also placed every source of pressure under one roof. At the same time, Reba's career expanded far beyond country music. She cautiously stepped into acting before fully embracing film and television. It demanded an entirely different kind of discipline. Endless hours beneath studio lights, scene after scene repeated until perfection. Moments of complete stillness followed by sudden emotional performances. Instead of replacing music, acting simply added another exhausting responsibility to an already overloaded schedule. By 1991, she was no longer an artist struggling to survive. She had become one of country music's most successful and recognizable stars. Everything suggested another year of growth. Instead, life was preparing to take away something no career could replace. On March 16, 1991, after performing at a private concert in San Diego, 2 aircraft carrying members of her touring band and crew departed for Fort Wayne, Indiana. Reba never boarded either plane. Feeling exhausted and unwell, she remained behind to rest. It was an ordinary decision that would separate her from one of the greatest tragedies of her life. The planes never completed the journey. Shortly after takeoff, one aircraft slammed into Otay Mountain. The crash was catastrophic. Every person on board lost their life. 8 trusted members of her band and crew were gone within moments. There would be no rescue, no second chance, and no miracle waiting beyond the wreckage. Everything ended in an instant. For the public, the tragedy became national news. For Reba, it became a private nightmare long before the headlines appeared. These were never just employees listed on a payroll. They were the people who traveled beside her every day, shared buses, rehearsed songs, celebrated victories, and stood only a few steps away every time she walked onto a stage. Their absence wasn't simply emotional. It disrupted the entire rhythm of her life. Suddenly there was no one tuning familiar instruments, organizing equipment, preparing backstage routines, or filling the spaces that had once felt ordinary. Grief first arrived through silence, long before tears had time to appear. Research has shown that traumatic loss inside tightly connected working groups often leaves psychological scars similar to those experienced by military teams and emergency responders. Survivors frequently struggle with overwhelming guilt, especially when surviving depended entirely on chance. Reba has openly admitted asking herself the same painful question again and again. Why was she the one who stayed behind? Why did she survive when the people beside her did not? No answer ever arrived. Yet the entertainment industry rarely waits for anyone to heal. Concert schedules continued, contracts remained active, and expectations never disappeared. Only months after the crash, she returned to performing, not because the pain had faded, but because standing still was never an option. Later that year she released For My Broken Heart, an album deeply shaped by unimaginable loss. Millions of copies were sold, proving that extraordinary success and overwhelming grief can exist side by side without canceling each other. From that moment forward, every concert carried invisible memories. Every stage reminded her of the musicians who were no longer standing behind her. Every familiar melody echoed differently because the people who had once helped create it were gone. No rehearsal can prepare someone for performing through that kind of absence. The only teacher becomes repetition, night after night, concert after concert, allowing the mind and body to slowly accept a reality they never wanted to face. Throughout the 1990s, Reba refused to slow down. New albums, nationwide tours, television appearances, and acting projects followed one after another. To the outside world, it looked like uninterrupted success. But constant movement can sometimes become its own form of survival. Remaining busy leaves little space for painful memories to settle. Many people who experience profound trauma respond in exactly this way, not because they are running from grief, but because routine becomes the only structure holding life together. When she later starred in her own television sitcom during the early 2000s, audiences saw warmth, humor, and perfect comedic timing. Few realized how much emotional discipline existed beneath those performances. Comedy demands precise timing, complete focus, and the ability to separate personal pain from public entertainment. Smiling for millions while carrying unresolved heartbreak required extraordinary emotional control. Then life demanded another painful adjustment. In 2015, after 26 years together, her marriage to Naval Blackstock came to an end. Publicly, the separation unfolded quietly, but privately it reshaped almost every part of her life. This wasn't simply the end of a marriage. It was the conclusion of a professional partnership that had guided both her career and daily routine for decades. Management responsibilities changed, financial structures were reorganized, and countless decisions that had once been shared suddenly became hers alone. Divorce later in life carries a different kind of weight. By then, habits have become permanent, routines feel automatic, and every ordinary day depends on years of shared patterns. Losing a long-term partner affects far more than emotions. It changes schedules, responsibilities, decision-making, and the quiet rhythm of everyday life. Once again, Reba found herself rebuilding a foundation she never expected to lose. Despite everything, her public image remained remarkably steady. Interviews stayed composed. Public appearances rarely revealed the battles taking place beneath the surface. But when viewed together, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Years of rejection at the beginning of her career, a marriage that limited her independence, the devastating plane crash that claimed her closest colleagues, decades of relentless touring, and the eventual end of a partnership that had lasted more than a quarter of a century. None of those struggles disappeared because success arrived. Fame simply rearranged where the pressure lived. As she entered her late 60s and eventually her 70s, the greatest challenge was no longer protecting her career. It was protecting the person who had carried that career through decades of sacrifice. She continued recording music, appearing on television, and performing for audiences around the world. The spotlight never disappeared, but the body that once endured endless travel, sleepless nights, emotional heartbreak, and constant reinvention had changed. Every performance now represented far more than entertainment. It stood as proof of a lifetime built not on comfort, but on extraordinary resilience. Behind every standing ovation is a story most people never see. Reba McEntire's journey wasn't built only on fame. It was built on sacrifice, heartbreak, resilience, and the determination to keep moving forward no matter the cost. If her story inspired you, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Which part of her life touched you the most? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the untold stories behind the world's biggest stars. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.